Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's episode is the MU Metal Model Transformers Decepticon TARN partial build. As with all the other metal models, it was very challenging, had a lot of steps, had some pieces that were a little difficult, but the end product turned out to be great, looked amazing, just like all the other pieces. But I hope you can get through all the episodes and I hope you enjoy them. And as always, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment so I can get more content out to you. Welcome back, guys, to my channel. We may get invaded by the creature that inhabits this territory. So, in fact, I think I hear her. So you may see her walking around, and you may hear some purring going on. So just letting you know, it is known to happen because she only bothers me when I'm down here. So to get started, I've got my mats, I've got my tools, I've got the book laid out over here. It's got all the steps in here. And like we talked about before, each sheet has a letter and number for each piece to identify which piece that you need to pull for the step. So if you look for the first step, each piece, if you can see, it says B50, so we're going to sheet B and pulling out piece number 50. And as you can see, that's the way it's going to continue on until we get that piece built in that particular way. And the books do a pretty good job with telling you like what's the front piece, what's the back piece, and to see exactly how the piece is supposed to look. So, and what I usually like to do, if it's the left side of the book, I usually like to slide it under my mat just so I don't have to look all the way over to the other side to try to find the step, try to keep everything as close as possible. And just as an example, on the sheets, as you can see, there's letter E, and as you can see, each piece has a number to it. And as you can see, the little prongs that are attached here, that's what you got to cut off to separate the piece from the sheet. So some of them are easy to get to, some of them are not so easy to get to, but and it's just a time-consuming process, and that's where you have to be careful. Okay, so the first step, we're looking for B50. So this is B, looking for step 50, and usually these are kind of in some shape of order, which is right here. So I am going to start cutting these, and you can cut as close as you can to get them off if your cutter's nice and sharp. And you're just going around, making sure you get them all. And it'll just fall right off when you're done. And then sometimes I like to go through and just see if there's any edging that's on there, any residual piece that's maybe sticking out, and maybe kind of trim it a little with the cutters. If not, then we'll just move on. Okay, and then the next piece, looking for another fun part is making the circles or a little oval shape. So we're going to the oval pieces that go on either side of here. So we're looking for B31. Now a lot of times they'll have them where it's the same shape but on either side of a piece, so the prongs may be a little different. So I like to cut one, just instead of cutting both out at the same time and maybe forgetting which one goes where. I always just like to cut out one at a time. B31, that way It just makes it easy so I don't forget where it goes, and place it in the spots before I cut out the other one. So now, since I got this one cut out, you're probably wondering, well, according to the book, I've got to make a little oval shape, pretty much making this piece go around the circle right here. So you're like, well, how are you supposed to get a flat piece into the round? Make it a round shape from a flat piece. So the easiest way I found, which I know in the last video I talked about the miniature screwdrivers. And so what I do is kind of get something that's the same shape as the oval, and then I just wrap it around it. And you can see this is kind of close. I mean, you don't want it completely all the way around, but you just want it as close as possible. And then and this is why I like to have the mat, because a lot of times, you know, when you drop something, it's easier for it to stay where it's at when it hits a mat than if it hits a smooth surface and it falls off. Just trying to reach for something. Okay. So now, since we have the piece turned, little oval shape, instead of flipping the top down, see, this one goes over on here. There's 3 holes. Let me try to get this here. You can see, get that, there we go. You can see there's 3 holes right there, and that's where these 3 prongs are going to go into. Now, usually the book says that you can either, once you insert the prongs, and if they're just a little off, you can kind of work with it to try to get it to fit. See, right now I don't have the one. There we go. That one's in. Okay, so I have 2 of them in. So this is where you just get some pliers and just kind of turn it a little bit. But in the book, when you have your tab sticking through, it says you can either bend them or twist them, depending on how easy or hard it is to bend or twist. But for me, I never felt comfortable twisting the tabs, because I either felt I wasn't twisting them enough, or I just couldn't get a good grip on them to twist. So, except for the very first couple of metal models that I did, I've always just folded them down. And ever since I've done that, I've never had any issue with anything coming out. So once you get the tabs in there, I usually use my finger, and you just want to hold on to the other piece and just make sure you're not going to bend anything as you're gripping it. And just using your finger now, and just folding the piece over. And you can always use a screwdriver or something flat, or small screwdriver. And there you go. So now what I usually like to do is, they usually want these end pieces to touch. So sometimes I'll just kind of twist them in just a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, because really nobody's gonna see it. And then now you can turn that over, flip that down. And as you can see, it's off just by a little bit. And then sometimes just kind of push it a little bit, and then push that down a little bit. I'm gonna start talking like Bob Ross, maybe. These little clouds right here. All right. Okay, I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. So there you go. Nope. So that's how that little edging goes on to that one. So now we're just gonna repeat the same process for the other side. So, oh, so you can see that. So got the two little round covers on. So it's not looking too bad. Okay, so let me, we'll bend this into shape, and then I think we will end this episode for now. And usually in the book, it'll have little arrows to show you the direction that the piece needs to be. And it'll show you what the front of the piece is. And if it shows you the back, then it'll be a little shaded, a little darker area, like it's showing right here in the book. So for here, they want you to pin this down. And if you have a small piece, if you don't feel like comfortable using your fingers, using small pair of pliers or something's always good. Again, time and patience. So you bend this down, put that forward, and then it looks like, if you see the little, there we go. See the little edge, and it wants you to roll this up to the little tab that's sitting right underneath it. So you just use your finger, get it right put in there, get a nice little curl, and you can bend that over. He doesn't want me to bend it again. Okay. And then sometimes you can use the little pliers to bend it. Okay, and then we do the other side the same way. Just trying to make sure I'm in the camera here. Again, I'm still learning this process and just trying to see how everything's working and all that. So I do apologize if I get out of frame or something doesn't look right. There we go. Sometimes I get a little cautious about bending the tab over. I'm always afraid I'm going to break it. So did it bend? No, it didn't bend. I was like, I thought it bended, but it did not bend. There we go. There we go. You will bend to my will. At least my pliers anyway. Okay. Just trying to bend this piece up a little bit, just to make sure it looks all right. Okay. And then it looks like they want us to bend this up. Make like a little bend. Oops. See, that's what I'm saying about bending it too much. Okay. So there you go. So that's the first step. So as you can see, it takes a little bit. It's not too bad. 10-15 minutes just to do one little piece. So now we'll be on to the next one. So we're gonna move on to the next step, which I believe we're working on the foot. So you can see here, I've got these pieces already cut out. Now for this one, we're gonna be adding pieces to these 3 little sections right here. Now the book says that they want you to fold this on the sides and on this front part and then add the pieces, but to me, I always like putting the smaller pieces onto the bigger piece if it's already flat, because if you go ahead and bend it, and as you're putting on the smaller pieces, if you just happen to push or bend one of the side pieces that you've already bent, then there's a possibility that you could bend it even further or bend it back to where it was, and it's just more susceptible to potentially breaking it off. So if it's possible, I would try to just leave it as flat as you can, because once you put the smaller pieces on, it's not going to hurt to bend it afterwards, and it'll just make it a lot easier when you're trying to put these smaller pieces on. So the first one is going to be this one right here. And a lot of times with these metal ones, it is kind of hard sometimes to determine which one's the front, which one's the back, but usually the front piece will have the little notches on the front or some identifying mark to kind of show you which one it is. But it looks like it wants us to bend it down, bend these sides down, and usually the sides will line up. If you're bending 3 sides, they will always line up with the third side, so that's how you kind of know not to bend it too far. And if you still need to bend the tab, then you can use, pliers. You can always use the pliers and just kind of, just bend the tab a little bit, fold it in if you need to straighten out or whatever. So with this one, I think I bent the wrong one. So yeah, I need to bend it a little bit. Yep, I need to bend it a little bit more. So actually I need to bend this one right here. Just a little bit, and you always want to do just a little at a time. I mean, it's not going to hurt the tabs if you bend it too much, but I always like to do just a little at a time just to make sure it fits. And then bend that in there, and there we go. As you can see, since it's flat, I don't have to worry about pushing any of the sides or the bottom down or overextending or anything, so it actually works pretty good. And as always, using my fingernail to kind of bend. Oops, I'll show you. To bend the tab forward. And again, you can always use like a flat screwdriver. You can always go in and bend it in or bend the tabs over with one of that. But for me, since I've got a good grip with my hands and my fingers, I always feel more comfortable bending it with my fingernail, and I always bend it inside of what the piece is. As you can see, I bent all the pieces, I bent the tabs inside of the piece instead of bending them outside. Bending it inside gives it a little bit more stability and kind of holds it a little bit more inside of whatever you're attaching it to. So if possible, always try to bend the tabs inside, unless it's just not absolutely possible because the piece is just too small. Then I'll do one outside. But if there's room, then I'll always bend the tabs to the inside. Okay, so there's that one. So now we'll get to do this one. Make sure we're doing the outside. The bend. And most of these are flexible enough that you can bend with your fingers. You don't have to use any type of tool or whatever. But again, you just want to make sure that you don't over bend. And if the piece is too small, you can always, unless you got clumsy fingers like me, you always want to, you can use some pliers to hold it while you're bending it. So it's just up to you what you feel comfortable with. Okay, so with this one, we're just doing the 2-tabber here. And now we're gonna just bend it just a little bit. And sometimes if you just get one side in, then you can use the flat, small screwdriver to bend the other tab to get it to fit. And again, just bend it over. You always want to make sure you have a good grip on the piece to make sure it stays there, and you don't have your fingers on anything that's going to bend it out of shape or anything like that. And that's another good, or another reason why I always keep this, to keep this piece flat and not bend it before, because if it was all bent, then it would make this a lot harder. So you're doing that. Bending that. Okay. Pretty good. And usually when you got your gloves on, I would just kind of wipe, even though there's really no fingerprints, but sometimes there's just some smudges or whatever. I always just kind of mark it. So got that one. So now the final piece looks like this one. Now you might not be able to bend it with your fingernails just because the edges are really small. So with these, I will use pliers to bend a little bit, but again, I won't go too far because I got to see exactly where that front piece is gonna bend down. So sometimes I'll just start them and then I'll bend this down to see exactly where these are gonna hit it at. Okay. And what are we doing? And it looks like I may have to bend that tab just a little bit. And again, it's nothing wrong with bending the tab and not without bending the actual flat piece on that side. So just turn it around. And usually if there's 3 sides, I always put the end piece in first, and then I'll work with the edges, or work with the sides. That's a bad thing about having cats around here, is there's kitty hair all over everything. Okay. Again, using the tool, just kind of pushing it, and you don't want to apply too much pressure. You just want to push in enough to get that in there. There we go. And then turn it over. Now you want to make sure you're not pushing down on these, because then even with the tabs pushed in, there's still a possibility that with enough force you could actually force those out. So you want to make sure that you're not pushing against that. And sometimes the tab is at an angle. It just depends on how it's put in there. So you can always use a screwdriver and just with the slightest pressure, just force it forward enough to where you can just finish it the rest of the way with your fan now. And then get that one. And get that one. Alrighty. So there we go. So now we can actually bend it to what they were wanting. Now sometimes the pieces you might not be able to bend into the shape just for whatever reason, so you definitely can look ahead a couple steps just to see what's going on, and then that way you know for sure whether or not you can bend it or not. But if you can get away with not bending it, then you can see right there, see I went a little bit too far, so I got to bend it back. And then definitely, like I said before, they make these where you can, you know, bend them at least 2 or 3 times forward and back without breaking it. So there's that. I may have to bend that just a little bit. And trust me, even without a camera on or whatever, I kind of still talk to myself like this, so there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, so now we get our first piece that we did last episode. Get the kitty hair off. Okay, now with these, a lot of the pieces they'll have the little edgings. If you see the little holes on the here, there, on the sides, right there. That's what we're going to be attaching this other piece to. So we're going to just start on one side and work our way around and just see where they fit and where they don't. Oh, see, I missed the front there. So sometimes it's best to just start on one side and work your way around like that. And then if there's one that doesn't hit, then you got your flathead screwdriver. Bend it in till it fits. And push it down. And then if you look, before you bend any tabs, you want to make sure that all the tabs that were supposed to go into the slots are in the slots, because I have done it before where I went to start bending the tabs, and then I got to the very last one and found out that it wasn't in the slot, so I had to unbend the tabs and start again, so which isn't fun. I think there's something right there. Yep, there we go. Okay. So since these are in, then you just go ahead and bend them over. Being careful not to put any pressure on the pieces on the other side, and that's part of this is just making sure you got your finger right here without pushing down on any of these tabs. But you'll know it because if you put a lot of pressure on those tabs with your finger, it hurts. So you want to make sure you don't get any bruises. And there's that. So not looking too shabby. I believe we're working on a foot. Okay, and then the next piece I already got done. And sometimes it's always good to have the piece laid out exactly how it looks in the book, just so you know exactly how it's supposed to go. And then looks like and of course it shows the back piece. Right here it's a little darker, so if it's darker then it always means that's the back. So you want to make sure, because if you look, the front's color, so the back's silver. So, and it's got the holes that you have to line up. So just like before, start on one. And sometimes you can just place it there and they all line up just like that. Trust me, it does not happen that often. So, and again, if all the tabs are lined up, oh, don't, you gotta be careful. If you push down on one side, then the other side will come up. So, and you want to make sure that you push down on the piece and then push the tab over, because if you push the tab over without it being all the way down, then you'll have to undo it and push it back down again, because then it won't be as secure as what it can be. So, and again, pushing the tabs in the middle. Oops, I'm try to lift it up so you can see. Pushing the tabs in the middle. Just trying to make sure I get them all down. And again, if you don't have enough pressure with your fingernails, or if you don't have any fingernails, then you can always use a small flat screwdriver, and you can always push down with the edges. I mean, don't put too much pressure on. You don't want to put any marks on it, since this is metal. It's a metal, but you can always push down the edges with it. But since it's a back piece, I'm not too worried about it getting scratched. You're not going to see it, but you just want to be careful if it's a front piece. So there you go. So there's one small piece to a bigger hole. This just isn't really a exciting part, cutting pieces out, but at least you get to see a little bit of what I do. Always, with the cutters, always use the flat side against the piece I'm cutting out, because then it won't leave as much excess on the piece when it actually comes off the sheet. And I always use the very tip. Kind of helps just get it off. And then catch on my glove. Uh-oh, the creature is back. Oh, she's gone. Yep, already rubbing. What? I'm busy. I know. I petted you earlier. No, I don't. No. Okay, so now, with this, you can kind of see the little edge, the little dotted lines. And usually if you see that, that means that's where you're going to be bending it a certain direction. And that kind of gives you a little hint of how you're going to be bending it. You're in the way. So I apologize if I'm talking to my cat as I'm doing this. Yes, I know. Not right now. So, and you can do this with your hand, with your finger. Yes, walk in front of the camera. I get this all the time. It's nothing like working on a model when you got somebody bothering you all the time. And usually just trying to visualize what exactly it's supposed to look like, because you know it's going to be completely around, but trying to get to look like what it shows in the book. But sometimes when you're trying to put it onto another piece or whatever, it'll bend out of shape or whatever, but you can always just bend it back. And I believe that goes over. Yes, I know. Okay, pet. iPad, yes. Alright, so what? So this is going to bend over and hook to that. Doesn't look right, but we'll go with it for now. Yeah. So, and with this, as I'm trying to bend, it's kind of pushing out of the way, so I'm having to try to grab it a little tighter. I know, baby, I know. Hang on. Okay. So, it's straight, but it kind of looks a little weird. So, usually sometimes when that happens, no, you cannot play with the cord. Apologize for that. Part of building a model with a cat. So now, and with this, they wanted you to shape it the same as what you just built. And of course, you always want to make sure you're doing the right way, because I just looked at that to make sure I was doing it the right way. Make sure you're doing the front, not the back, or vice versa. And actually, I think just a little bit more. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. I can't believe that worked. Because, oh, there we go. So now you see getting the 4 tabs in that piece. Took a little bit because it's at a weird angle. Show you. It's kind of at a weird angle. So it's not really straight, but that's where you gotta, had to bend this piece just to kind of get up in there. But so once it's in there, you definitely do not want to let it fold back. So, and again, since it was a little crooked, and now I can kind of straighten it a little bit again. When you're messing with something like that, then sometimes you can kind of twist it a little bit. But now with these tabs, I don't think I can get there with my finger, so I can't bend them over. So I'll just try to bend them over with the screwdriver. And then sometimes if you have room, you can always use some pliers to push down a little bit more just to make sure they're good. You just got to make sure that your other bottom part that you're pushing against isn't going to bend or anything like that. And I think we are good. Yep, I think got pushed up. So again, part of building this is just making sure you're not pushing or pulling or getting anything out of shape that shouldn't be, misaligning anything, because you definitely do not want that. It's just being mindful of what you're doing as you're working on the piece, and making sure that anything else isn't going to go anywhere. So it doesn't really say to bend these up to fit onto here, but that's the only thing I can see of how these will go on. So we are going to bend these up. And again, you don't want to completely close them, because then you're not going to be able to get the piece in there. So you want to just get the front piece in, and then actually you can line it up to where they're going to be at. Okay. Get the front piece in, and then you can close the other sides, the one side, to make sure those are in there, and then close the other side to make sure those are good, and then seal that puppy up. And again, just making sure that they're flat. You can always use some pliers. Since this has a hole right here, I can just kind of go in there and just kind of push down on it for this back one. The front one I can't really do that with, but since it's already down, and I can just kind of push down a little bit with the screwdriver and just Not putting too much pressure. I don't want to put any marks on it. And I just need to do this front piece. Just pushing it up just to make sure it's up all the way. And I'm pushing it down. And there we go. Yeah, there we go. I think this is going to be I think this is the leg. So, and with the angle of how it is, then it's probably going to be his right foot, because it's shooting this way. So, better view that way. So, this isn't just some regular bending and twisting. So, this is something that can be a little difficult if you've never done it before, but just like the other pieces, time and patience will get you through it. So as you see with this one, it's got a little curl piece and it's got a long piece. And if you look in the book, this is supposed to be round, and then this is going to be like an oval on top of it. And you can see this one has a little tab. That has a little tab on it that's going to go into this part right here. So for this one, you don't want it to be completely round at first. You want to kind of just work your way into it. That's what I do. So besides the small screwdrivers, anything that you have around the house that's round, pencil, pen, even a marker will help. Anything that's smooth, that's round, is good to get started with anything that needs to be in a round shape. Because with this, you can just start it out as it being round. And then as you see, the tabs on top here are going to go into these slots on these bottom pieces, and that's what will help it make a little concave. So you want to just bend it down a little, and then you want to work your way over to make sure that these go in. There and there. So now what you want to do is go ahead and fold the tabs over. Fold the tabs over. And you're done, right? Yeah, woo. Easy part done. No. So now we got to get these two little guy tabs over until this side over here. So you kind of want to push up, since these are tabbed in, just kind of push up, and you can always use the pliers. Just kind of pull up on them a little bit. Don't want to bend it too much because you don't want to create any indentions or anything into it. Oops, I'm bending it back. And then, because this little guy right here is going to go into this little slot, so you want to just bend it. And there we go. Okay, so it's got that in. So now I'm gonna bend it down, make sure it doesn't come out, but it probably will. Okay, so it may not look the best right now, but again, like I said before, sometimes it's not going to come out perfect, but But since you got the two different tabs, one side looks okay. You got the two different tabs. You want to do the top one first. That'd be the easiest. Get that in there. Oops, that bent over the wrong way. What in the world are you doing? This is a perfect example of being able to, oops, get at the camera. Yep, I'm good. Being able to bend the tab back and forth. Same with this one. Kind of get it in there. Sometimes you need to kind of little push and pull. There we go. Can't lie, I thought that was going to break, which it looks like it's. And I think that's good. Okay. So I actually forgot to zoom in a little bit. There we go. So it's got the three tabs on the bottom, and this has, where are you at? Trying to find. Okay, I see it. Sometimes it's hard to find the tabs. There we go. Got that on there. As you can see, the tabs are on the inside there. So with these, since I can't really get my finger in there to do it, then I will get the screwdriver, the flathead, push the tabs down. Making sure they're good to go. Like I said, it's not too bad, but again, not looking for perfection, just making it look as good as you can. And now we're looking for the let's see, where's it at? I'm losing it. There. And right there. Okay, got the tabs in there. Try not to push down too much. Okay. Whew. So this definitely makes you want to make sure you have enough practice and with some other models before you handle some of this, because it does get tricky sometimes. But whoops, let me try to get a little closer. There we go. So got the little side pieces on there. So whew. Oh, that was tricky. All right. So now, So now we're gonna work on putting some pieces on these upper parts here. So it has these long pieces like this, but on the back the lines are going up and down, which means we need to concave them long ways. So kind of the same thing with the screwdrivers. Instead of short ways, I have them go long ways. I put it on it and then just push down to get that little concave, little half moon shape. Whoops. And also we'll push the tabs down a little further too, just to make sure they're straight down, whatever. And then if I need to go down further, I'll use a smaller screwdriver, and or if I need to go bigger, then I'll go to a bigger screwdriver. But blow the cat hair out. So see what we're at here. That, and actually this doesn't look too bad. Just need to pull the tabs in just a little bit. Because if you get it too much inside, then it is hard to kind of get it back out. And use this screwdriver. And look at that. Boom. Right in there. Okay, and same thing. Just push the screwdriver down. Screwdriver down. Oh, get in there. It's pushing back on me. Gotta make sure you got the leverage to. Okay, so not too. Oops. Make sure I got it in the camera here. Keep forgetting where the camera is on the phone. So not too shabby. Okay, so got one down, one to go. Time, patience, and just practice. You do something over and over again, you would definitely get more proficient at it. So don't be discouraged if you run into problems. Sometimes you need to walk away and come back to the model if you're having a lot of issues with it, or there's just something that's just not working for you. There's been a lot of times I've had to just gotten frustrated, or I was just too tired, or just whatever, and I just had to step away because I knew I was just like, I just can't do this right now. And then next day just came to it, and then it definitely was a lot easier. So you definitely don't want to get frustrated with anything. So not too shabby. Okay. Oh, I think the fun part's gonna be next. Okay, so we're gonna be putting this bottom part on, as you see, all these little edges right here. These little angles, all that. So we get to put this one on. It looks like the back part. And since this is kind of, and as you can see, it's got the little notched lines, which means you get to bend it a few times. And these are kind of hard to bend with your fingers, so I'll always, if I need to bend multiple times, I'll always use pliers. It's just a lot easier that way. And the book always shows you kind of what you need to do. So looks like it's up. And then down. And then up. So we'll see how good that matches. And then if I need to adjust, then we shall adjust. So okay. Oh, there we go. I just need a little forceful push there. Sometimes that comes in handy. And I need to push that in just a little bit more. So sometimes if you see a tab in here, there's a tab that's just needs to go in a little bit more. Just gotta, oops, so you guys can see. Just trying to push it in until it pops down. And voila, which is French was for, and then I found out. So then you use a screwdriver to push it down. Screwdriver to push this down. Use my fingernails just to make sure. And like I said before, always push inside just to give a little bit more strength. And I'm pushing that in because I'm pushing against it when I shouldn't be. Okay, so here, let's see where I'm at. That, okay. So here, we'll bring this up. Since there's an opening here, and I bent it a little bit, so now I can just use the pliers to push it down. To lock it in. Lock it in. My final answer. Same with this. Just bend it over a little bit. Something don't look right. I guess it just, that's the way it is. Something didn't look right there for a second. There we go. Okay. There we go. Little back half here. Hopefully I got that in the camera. I apologize if I... Little bottom piece there. So, got that on there. So now we're gonna finish the bottom of the foot here. Okay. So we're gonna do, let's see. That, yep, okay, so do that. And the book's good with kind of telling you which holes are supposed to get filled with which tabs. Okay. Now you definitely, when you're pushing against something else on the piece, you always want to make sure that it definitely isn't gonna get bent or push out of shape or whatever. I have done that before, accidentally pushing against something and having to fix it. Okay, I'm good. Okay, I think those are good. Okay, so now we're going to close this down. try to... Okay, I think I got that one in. Got that one in, got that one in. Got that one in. So when all tabs are in, lock her down. Okay. And that, my friends, is one of the feet. There we go. So, not too bad. There we go. Back. There's the bottom. And there's that. So, yeah, not too bad. Took a little bit, but whew. It's, again, as I say, time and patience. You know, little difficulties on the side, on the little round pieces, but as long as you just work with them and just make them look as good as you can, that's all that matters. You'll be the only one that notices any issues if you run into anything. So, yeah, I apologize for the camera cutting out. Hopefully didn't miss too much. But we'll continue this next time. We'll press on with the next step. We actually got done with the first page. And we will continue on with this foot and see if we can get a leg attached to it. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next episode.